113 years have gone by and nobody ever went inside. Until now. What this diver found in the Titanic's luxury cabin has been hidden from the world for over a century, and what he saw might change everything you think you know about that night. Picture yourself more than 12,000 feet down in the ocean. Everything around you is pitch black, cold like you've never felt before, silent in a way that makes your heart beat louder in your chest. You're slowly moving toward a part of the Titanic that's been locked up tight for 113 years. A first-class cabin that nobody has touched since the ship went down. What used to be a place of fancy dinners and expensive clothes is now a tomb under the sea, sealed away by water and time itself. For more than 100 years, this cabin fought off every single person who tried to get in. The walls around it had fallen and twisted. The weight of the ocean pushed down with crushing force, and the spot where it sat, deep inside the broken hull, made it nearly impossible to reach. But now, because of brand new underwater technology that didn't exist before, the doors that were never opened are finally giving way. The diver pushes through the doorway, and his light cuts through the darkness. Right away, he sees furniture still bolted to the floor, exactly where it was placed back in 1912. There are mirrors on the walls, their surfaces stained and clouded over. Pieces of clothing float in the water like ghosts, moving slow and steady, almost like they're waiting for someone to come back and wear them again. On a small table near the bed, there's a picture frame. The photo inside is so faded you can barely make out the faces anymore, but you can still see two people standing together, dressed up nice, smiling at something we'll never know about. Next to the frame sits a book. It's open to a page somewhere in the middle, and the words have long since washed away. But that book has been sitting on that exact page for 113 years. Whoever was reading it never got to finish the chapter. Maybe they set it down to get ready for dinner. Maybe they heard the ship hit something and ran out without thinking. Either way, that book stayed right there, waiting. These aren't just things scattered around a room. Every single item tells a story. Someone chose that picture frame. Someone packed that book in their suitcase. Someone hung those clothes up carefully, thinking they'd wear them again tomorrow. This cabin isn't just part of a sunken ship. It's a frozen moment in time where real people lived and breathed and had no idea their lives were about to end. The diver moves slowly through the space. His camera picks up details that make your chest feel tight. A hairbrush on the dresser with a few strands still caught in the bristles. A pair of men's shoes lined up neatly by the bed. A teacup sitting on its side, probably knocked over when the ship started tilting. Everything here speaks to the ordinary moments of life. The quiet, simple things we do every day without thinking twice. But for the people in this cabin, those ordinary moments were their last. Then something catches his eye. Tucked behind a fallen armchair, almost completely hidden, there's a small leather suitcase. It's covered in sediment and looks like it's been sitting in that exact spot since the night the Titanic sank. The diver carefully pulls it out and brings it into the light. The locks are rusted shut, but with a little effort, they pop open. He lifts the lid slowly, half expecting to find jewelry or money or fancy belongings. But that's not what's inside. Instead, there are letters. Handwritten letters, folded carefully and tied together with a ribbon that's barely holding on anymore. The paper is fragile, waterlogged, but somehow the ink is still visible in places. These are words that someone wrote down, maybe planning to send them when the ship reached New York. Or maybe they were private thoughts never meant for anyone else to read. Confessions of love, plans for a future that never came, apologies that were never spoken out loud, goodbyes that never got delivered. The diver's breathing gets heavier. You can hear it through the recording. His hands shake just a little as he holds one of the letters up to his light. This isn't just history anymore. This is personal. This is someone's life, their feelings, their fears, all poured out onto paper and then locked away in a suitcase that sank to the bottom of the ocean. And now, more than a century later, someone is finally reading their words. That cabin, which was built to show off wealth and power, now reveals something completely different. It shows how fragile everything really is. The people who stayed in this room thought they were safe. They thought they were on the finest ship ever built, something that could never sink. They went to bed that night, thinking about what they'd do when they reached America. They had dreams and plans and people waiting for them on the other side of the ocean. But none of that mattered when the ship hit the iceberg. In just a few hours, everything they knew was gone. And this room stayed here, untouched, like a quiet memorial that the ocean itself protected. Not with locks or guards, but with depth and darkness and the simple fact that most people could never reach it. It waited in silence, holding on to the memories of people who never got to say goodbye. The diver moves his camera around the room one more time. He wants to capture everything before he has to leave, and that's when he notices the mirror again, the one still hanging on the wall near the bed. He gets closer, shining his light directly on it. The surface is covered in grime and mineral deposits from decades underwater. But then he sees something. Right there in the lower corner, barely visible, there's writing. Someone used their finger or maybe lipstick to write a name on that mirror. The letters are shaky and uneven, like they were written in a hurry or in the dark. The name is hard to read now, almost completely worn away by time and water. But it's there. Was it a message of love? A desperate attempt to leave behind some proof that they existed? A way to mark their space one final time before the end came? We'll probably never know, but seeing it makes everything feel even more real. Someone stood in front of that mirror, maybe just hours before they died, and wrote their name. They were thinking, they were feeling, they were human, just like you and me. 113 years later, it's not the fancy furniture or the expensive clothes or the personal belongings that hit the hardest. It's the silence. It's the weight of all the things that were never said. All the letters that never got mailed. All the plans that never happened. All the people who never made it home. This dive didn't just show us the inside of a ship. It showed us the soul of a story that got cut short. A story that's been sitting at the bottom of the ocean, waiting for someone to find it. And maybe we're still not ready to hear everything it has to tell us. Maybe there are more cabins down there, more letters, more names written on mirrors that nobody's seen yet. Maybe the Titanic is still holding on to secrets that it's not ready to give up. But one thing's for sure, every time someone goes down there and comes back with a new piece of the puzzle, we get a little bit closer to understanding what really happened that night. We get closer to knowing the people who were there, not just as names on a passenger list, but as real human beings who laughed and cried and loved and feared just like we do. And that matters. Because history isn't just about dates and facts. It's about people. And the people on the Titanic deserve to be remembered, not just for how they died, but for how they lived. This story is made up. It's inspired by the real Titanic and by actual underwater discoveries that divers have made over the years. But the specific events described here, the cabin, the letters, the name on the mirror, none of that actually happened. The purpose of this story is to make you think and imagine what might still be down there, forgotten and waiting in the deep.